Hello, and welcome to episode 1093 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is August 30th, and that's a Tuesday. I said that in the wrong order. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, what's going on?
Oh, just another beautiful day in paradise. It is supposed to get hot as hell here. And today's like our last day where it's not going to be hot as hell. So I'm going to enjoy it. I'm wearing a sweatshirt. It is only like 9 o'clock in the morning. But
Yeah, it's pretty early. I think I saw a tweet. We're on 93 days where it hasn't gotten under 90. So I hear you on the heat. We did get a bunch of rain recently, which we need. So if you're from certain parts of the country, like yourself in California, myself in Texas, you want the rain all the time. You need every drop that we can get. So
I would trade some 90 or 100-degree days because I think we're gonna hit like 105 this weekend. But for some rain, like all we have not had rain. Like
I'd trade them on a 10-to-1 ratio. Here's 10 nice days, or warm days. At least they're not always nice. They're sweltering, for some more rain, please, for the love of God. Like, not to go down a huge tangent on this, but like there's like water usage rules that you have. So our grass just died. But then with all this rain, you can already just see it coming back. Like it's just been so starved for any water that like it's already immediately coming back with a nice little rain. So we always need it. Obviously, lots of drought-like situations across the country and across the world. But we're not here to do a climate change episode. We're here to talk some baseball. And we got some really interesting call-ups. Now, don't forget, this wave is coming right now due in large part to the rule changes with regards to Rookie of the Year eligibility and the compensation picks that teams can get. So if you were wondering why, particularly the number one guy that we're going to talk about, Corbin Carroll, maybe wasn't called up a little bit earlier, I think it was with that in mind to ensure that he can maintain rookie status and still possibly win Rookie of the Year next year, and then they would get a comp pick. Now, I don't believe that's necessarily the case with like Eguy Rosario. By the way, I did a solo episode. I called him E-Guy the whole time. I'd never heard his name, didn't know. Thanks to Tim. Is it Tim Karanak? Is it, what's his last name? You know Tim, right?
Oh, Canuck?
Tim Canuck. He is one who told me the right pronunciation there. It's Eguy. It looks like E-Guy, but it's Eguy Rosario. I don't think that's the case with him, but like Corbin Carroll, Garrett Mitchell, Cade Cavalli, any three of them, like they're legit prospects. They could do a Rookie of the Year run next year. And so now they're protected there. All four of them are called up. Let's start with Corbin Carroll. He's the big one, obviously, in Arizona. Massive season. Going to be kind of this last giant play in NFBC next week because people that have, anything triple digits, I think we're going to see a lot of it go. For Corbin Carroll, he had 23 homers across double and triple A with 32 steals. Now he went 16-20 in 58 games at double A and then 7-11 in 33 games at triple A with great slash lines at both levels, 167 WRC plus and 135 WRC plus respectively. Now, both good places to hit as well. So keep that in mind and remember Alek Thomas and when he came up. Now, Carroll is a better prospect, but Thomas came up, had some early success, and then has kind of tapered off a bit and to the point where now he's at an 81 WRC plus. He's popping up on waiver wires. What do you see out of Corbin Carroll for this last month here? Obviously, with such a short sample, I know it can go a lot of different ways, but what is your realistic expectation here? While we both understand that you got to pick him up everywhere because the upside is rich, what do you think happens, though?
What do I think happens?
Yeah, like that. What are you realistically thinking? This is what I'm going to get. We're going to go. Your agreement, right? It's automatic go for in every league just because of
absolutely.
The upside.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we think he's definitely going to be 10-team viable the whole month. So what do you think Corbin Carroll's actually going to do? Push come to shove.
I think he could be. You never know with a prospect, right? We thought Kelnick was like going to be like the guy, right? And
the last thing we would have thought was the strikeouts because he had like a 15% at AAA. I know you and I were heavily bought in. We're like, this guy's ready. He can hit. He has a hit tool down there. So yeah, you never know.
And
but
so
I think Carroll could be hot off rip too.
I do too. And I mean, it all comes down to a good ability to control the strike zone, really great contact skills, and speed. Like he's a legit speedster. Like, I think we have him down for 70 grade speed. On Fangraphs, that's, and a 50 grade hit tool right now with a potential 70 grade hit tool down the line. Like that is a legit stud, especially in fantasy when we're talking about a guy who's not a zero in terms of power. Like, he's probably got league average power, if not maybe a little bit more. So, I think he has all the right tools to be ready, and to dominate from rip, and be good from rip. And even last night, like, it's one game, but 100% zone contact rate. Like, that's what I want to see from a guy who's up in his first game. Like, and he didn't shy away from a big moment. Like, I don't know. He looks like he's the legit real deal. In my 3-sport draft, the guy, Eli Rosenzweig, so those of you who've been following just my work for a really long time, like back in the day, beginning of Friends Fans Memphis, he was one of my co-hosts over there. He doesn't do content anymore, but he's just a really, really good player, fantasy player. He took Corbin Carroll like inside of the top, like, I want to say 60 picks or something like that.
Wow.
Went ahead, like right ahead of Starling Marte, who I grabbed, a little bit later that round. So, like,
I love Carroll, so I get it. Like,
he is going to be this year or next year's Bobby Witt Jr. or Julio Rodriguez in terms of where people are going to be drafting him. He's going to go inside the top 4 rounds, especially now that he's if he hits at all, like, he's going to be a top, maybe even a top 3 round hitter.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting comp. He does have this experience makes him a little bit different from those two with Corbin Carroll, because they'll have the month, whereas those two started off cheap in the winter and into the early spring and then spiked. If he crushes in September, Corbin Carroll is going to be expensive off rip. And we're going to talk about some other guys when we get into some August stud hitters and what they look like going forward. And a guy that I could also think is going to be very, very high based off what he's done. Not quite like Witt and J-Rod, because he played most of this year, but Michael Harris we're going to get into. So a lot of these guys are on the rise here, and I think Corbin Carroll has a chance to be a high impact guy. The hit tool, the speed, and the power that can be just enough. At its best, there is some of that Trey Turner vibe. That's the 90th, 95th, 100th percentile outcome here. I'm not saying that's who he is, but that's the kind of mold that we're looking at here, right? With Corbin Carroll, that it's that Trey Turner type of excellence. So that's why there's going to be a ton of excitement this weekend.
The only difference, though, is that Carroll has walked at a double-digit rate all through the minor leagues.
Yes.
So we're talking about a guy, Trey Turner's never been like a huge walk guy necessarily.
And that's a great way to stabilize your on base to keep those SB attempts coming.
Yeah, even when you're struggling, maybe it's a dish, like early, young players often do have moments where they struggle. Like he could offset that with, just a huge walk.
Absolutely. Another interesting speed guy who has somewhat of kind of a Corbin Carroll starter kit, but not quite the height and not quite as developed just yet, is Garrett Mitchell out in Milwaukee. He also had a double AAA season this year, a little bit of time at the Complex League too. 44 games at AA, 107 WRC plus, 4 homers, 7 steals. 20 games at AAA, 1 homer, 9 steals with a 148 WRC plus. He's got 70 speed as well. Raw power is 60, but only 30 in game right now. He hasn't quite brought it there. 35 hit with 50 upside. So you can see that where the growth can come from for Garrett Mitchell, where he could be pretty impressive. So far, he's hit the ground running. It's 8 plate appearances. It means nothing. I understand, 1 homer, 1 steal. But Garrett Mitchell, I think, could be an interesting consolation prize if you don't have the money for Carroll, or if you lose out. What do you think about Garrett Mitchell in Milwaukee? Can he get enough PT to make an impact down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the playing time is really the question. Like right now, we've got him in a strong side platoon. I'll take that. Especially in deeper formats where Mitchell's going to be a little bit more attractive. I mean, he is a much more risky profile because he does not have the contact skills that Corbin Carroll obviously does. But I think he's a guy who could strike out at like a 30+% rate. He's got speed. We know he has speed. Like, there is raw power in there, but like you said, he has not unlocked it. Like, we're talking about like 4 homers at like each stop along the way. Like, we're not talking about a guy who, but we know the Brewers like to run. It seems like they're going to give him a chance to play. If he can get on base enough, he could end up being a pretty interesting stolen base threat. And he's another guy who's walked at double-digit rates throughout the minor leagues. And the Brewers will obviously when he's not in the starting lineup, potentially use him as like a pinch runner in close games and stuff. So
love it.
Yeah, I think he's the guy who's going to kind of go under the radar probably out of this entire group. And he becomes a lot more interesting in your deeper formats. I don't think he's 10-team viable, at least not yet.
Not yet with Garrett Mitchell. I agree, because you can likely find a full-time starter somewhere on the wire right now. You don't necessarily need to go for somebody who's in a strong side platoon, and we don't know, how well Garrett Mitchell's going to do yet. Keep an eye on him though, but because if he keeps going, he's off to, like I said, a fast start, 3 for 7 or 2 for 7 with a homer. Then you can jump in, but 12s, 15s is where you're looking at him now as that Corbin Carroll constellation, like Garrett Mitchell in Milwaukee. Cade Cavalli came up, and Eno posted some information how his stuff was absolutely nasty, but so was his command in the opposite way. It was nasty, gross. You don't want to look at it because it wasn't there. So you saw the good and the bad in the 4 1/3 innings, where he gave up 7 runs but had 6 strikeouts as well. So we know what Cade Cavalli is, kind of standard pitching prospect stuff, where it's like elite stuff, no clue where it's going. What's the development going to look like? Is Cade Cavalli somebody you're looking for down the stretch, or is it too volatile and too scary that he could hurt more than he helps? Like, is it team specific where you got to be kind of in Hail Mary mode, or do you think he can settle and be just a solid impact guy down the stretch, Cade Cavalli?
I think you play matchups with him. He's got a start against Oakland. I picked him up. You and I were talking prior to the show, and I'm like, I'm starting like half of the rotation of the Nationals. And
you are.
Because they've got a home series versus the A's. So I picked him up in Tout Wars this week for $7, and
that's NL only, right?
No, it's
okay. You're in the mixer.
Yeah, 15-team mix. So
yeah, against Oakland, I can get behind that. I really can. You got to take that shot,
especially in a league like Tout, where it's like like more similar, I think, to other people's leagues. It's a 15-team league, but there's unlimited IL. So like, there's nothing on the waiver wire right now. Like you and I've been complaining about in our main event, nothing being on the wire. Like, there's nothing on this wire.
No,
so
everyone's stashed.
Yeah, exactly. So. I'm hoping for the best. You see the stuff. The stuff is amazing, but the command is a real issue. I think that's going to lead to home runs, so it's a gamble, but it's a high upside gamble. So if you're in need of wins, and strikeouts, like play, you can play that kind of gamble against certain teams. I'm willing. I'm taking it 1 week at a time with Cavalli. He's also got a really long injury history. So
yes,
for guys who are thinking about for next year, if he throws a gem against Oakland, it may be a really good sell high point as well in Dynasty and Keeper.
Let me paint a picture for you. Let's say Mr. Cavalli does do well against Oakland. 6 innings, 1 run, 7 Ks. You get what you want. You can get your dub. Would you throw him at St. Louis next week? Good park, but scary as hell team.
Yeah, that's tough.
I know. I don't think I would, but if he comes out and dominates.
Obviously, it depends on your league, right? Like where you're at. Like if we're
what about
talking
you in that tout though, in that tout situation, he gives you what you want. Do you take your win for $7 and move on, or do you put it back on red and double down on him?
I think I'd have to see what my other starters look like, and
who they're starting and everything,
and who they're starting against. But I might.
But you're considering it, okay? You would even consider it, I think, is an interesting point, because St. Louis is a scary team right now. But if Cavalli shows that command, even against Oakland, I know they suck, but if he dominates them, I think it does add intrigue for the following week.
Yeah, I think I still. I mean, God, that St. Louis, and now Tyler O'Neill's heating up.
Yes.
There's and Pujols is in the chase for 700 has
dude, I hope he gets it.
He's gonna get it. I think he's gonna get it. They're gonna play him every day.
I think some dudes are gonna sauce a few there.
Absolutely.
I think some righties are gonna be open to maybe just saying, listen, if he hits it, I'm not gonna throw it 5 miles an hour slower than I do, but I'm not gonna. Yeah.
Especially if you're in a game that doesn't matter. If you're don't you I know nobody wants to be the poster boy for giving up, but do you remember the name of the guy that Bonds hit the last home run off of?
Mike
I'm a Giant.
Basket.
Oh, was it?
I do remember. Yeah, I do remember.
I'm a Giants fan. I don't even remember.
No, but what do you mean though? I think that's I would want to be remembered for
I
that.
have
I'm
that
sorry.
poster in my office of me getting fucking,
like Barry is a god. So like Mike Basic, I don't think goes around hanging his head on that one. If you give up the 700th to Pujols, I don't think you're some loser. You're like, he got me.
He was there. He got to be there. Like he was a part of. He's responsible for it. Like
I'm sure some people are like shaking their head. No, I could never do. I was like, I don't know. I just think, again, like you said, if you're in a meeting, if you're fighting for the game, I'm not saucing him one. I don't care if we're the Nats. If we're the Nats and we're dog shit, but we're up 5-2, I'm not saucing him one with 2 runners on. But if we're down 8-1, I'm just throwing some fastballs in the zone and just seeing what's up. Just seeing if Pujols could maybe hit it.
I'm pulling a Greinke and like yelling out what pitch is coming. Like,
telling them what's coming to see if they can hit it.
It's a 70-mile-an-hour changeup right down the middle for you.
Can you wait back? Back? All right, last prospect here, Eguy Rosario for the for the San Diego Padres is coming up. What do we think of Eguy? It's a great name. It is better than Eguy, which is what I thought it was. So I'm glad to have been corrected there. But he's going to come up. I don't know if he's going to play enough to make an impact. I think that's kind of the biggest issue here and really relegates him to the deepest of formats. But I think if you here's an example. If you're in a deeper mixer or an NL only, well, I guess it wouldn't work if you're an NL only, but then because the name I'm going to use. But Bubba Thompson was somebody that those of us in deeper leagues were chasing just because we wanted steals. He can't hit a lick. We know that. We got him. He's got some steals for us. Eggy's got a little bit more poppy at 21 homers in AAA this year with 20 steals. But I think if you're chasing steals specifically, that might be your best use case for an Eguy Rosario. He hasn't even made a start yet. He's only pinch hit a couple times. I think deep leagues, I'm thinking like 18-team mixers and NL onlys are the only shot where I'm looking at Rosario right now. What do you think? What do you think about Rosario rest of season, but then long term? Because I do think he has some dynasty appeal that you could maybe hint on.
Yeah, I think he is a really good reminder of why like PCL numbers can like overinflate someone's value, because I think people are going to think he's got a lot more power in his bat than he probably does. Considering what you said, he hit 20 home runs in 21 home runs in AAA this year as a 23-year-old. Speed's legit, I think. I mean, but I just don't know where he plays even next year. Like when now they're gonna have Tatis back at some point. Like where is?
Let me just illuminate one thing real quick, because you made this great point about AAA PCL and inflation of numbers. He has an 895 OPS, which was good for a 119 WRC plus. In AA, Eguy had an 815, so an 80-point difference, virtually the same WRC plus, 118. So that really shows you how much of an offense. El Paso specifically, so the home park of the Padres is particularly nice, but then several parks around there are nice.
Yeah, he gets to play
on those 21 homers.
He gets to play in like Albuquerque, Colorado Springs, Vegas, like Salt Lake City. Like he gets to play in all these great parks. So like I like the homers. Like I'm not as like super like, oh, he's gonna hit for power. Like I think he can hit for some power, and maybe like our original Fangraphs grade on him being like a 40 something into 45 raw power. Maybe that's a little bit low. So like maybe he could be a league average power guy if he got full-time plate appearances. I just don't know that he's going to get enough plate appearances to matter.
Yeah, that's the issue right now. There is no room at the end. He's up as a guy who can bounce around the infield. Eguy Rosario is who we're talking about here, with some speed. I think he could. Does he play outfield too, or am I tripping on that? Maybe it is just infield.
I know he played third. He played third base in his only game up, so I don't.
Yeah, he'll bounce around the infield, give him some depth. If something opens up, we can revisit him, but I don't think we need to go much deeper right now, because I just don't see a whole lot of reason to go out and get Eguy right now.
He's the kind of guy you pick up if you don't have to throw him into your lineup.
If you can just stash and you're like, I want to stash this potential speed demon. Yeah. Okay, fine. But I think you need an injury right now on the San Diego infield to really see Eguy Rosario get legit play.
Unless they're going to move Machado back to short or something like that. Like then
Kim's on fire, so I don't think so. Kim's been awesome, so I would be really surprised if they did that. He's been really sharp lately, so hopefully not. And then that just doesn't leave any room for Eguy to play a whole lot. So that's Eguy Rosario, deep leagues right now with him. Let's talk a bit about this Tony Gonsolin injury. He was placed on the IL yesterday out of the blue. And anytime the Dodgers do stuff like that, you instantly start to get the whole Phantom IL, Dodgeritis. This is sketchy. I got to be honest, Jay, I don't see it this way on this one. I think it's a legit injury. Like I just to what end are they doing? Now they don't need. They're set really nicely. The Mets could maybe catch them for the 1 seed. They're 7 up on the Mets. That's still a lot, 7 games to catch them. They don't need to have pedal to the metal. They don't have all the pitching depth that they've had in recent years. They had to use Michael Grove yesterday. And I think Pepio might get the start this weekend up for Gonsolin's spot. Do you agree with some of the sentiment that this is phantom and this is BS and they're just trying to rest him? Or do you think there's some real concern here with Gonsolin? Because that's the side I lean on, is that I think it's a legit injury personally.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were talking about this prior to recording, and I talked about, like, they announced they were going to a 6-man rotation yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they then going to the next day put a guy like Gonsolin on the IL with a phantom issue? I don't think so. Like, they don't have the depth in this rotation that has, really helped them in the playoffs in the regular seasons of past. Like, this is a rotation that's put together by duct tape. And I don't, and they're usually not this specific. Usually, like, when there's a phantom IL sent, it's like general soreness, it's arm fatigue, it's like, it's one of these things that isn't super specific to a body area. This is forearm strain. Like, that's super, super concerning. I don't think this is a phantom thing. Obviously, you're holding on to him. He's just been too good not to. But I would be very, very concerned if I was a Gonsolin, if I rostered Gonsolin in the league, or if I was a Dodgers fan. Like you have this huge lead, and now the guy who's really helped carry, part of that pitching staff.
He's basically taken Buehler's spot, right?
Yeah.
He has filled in the Buehler role so that they still
He's been arguably the best pitcher in baseball this year.
Exactly. Like, he's in the Cy Young mix. I still think it's Sandy, but you can make a nice Gonsolin case. And it's been Urias, Gonsolin, Kershaw when Kershaw was there. Now Kershaw's hurt. Buehler's gone. What are you relying on now? You can't push May too hard.
A healthy Andrew Heaney, May coming off the off of Tommy John, Ryan Pepio.
Tyler Anderson's been good, man, but you like him. He's supposed to be your 4. You know how they're going to expand the no off days to where you're going to have to use your 4 starters if you get to the LCS. He's a great 4 for that. He's not supposed to be your 2, and that's where he is right now. Urias, Anderson, May, Heaney. I mean, because of Heaney and Heaney's consistent health issues and May coming off TJ, I would slot Anderson ahead of them in terms of reliability right now, and that's not a great spot to be in for October. There's still a month to get healthy. Kershaw and Gonsolin are both expected back, but they're not guarantees. You got to be a little nervous as a Dodgers fan right now, right?
Yeah, and this isn't like a giant homerism.
No, I know you're not. We're just reading the tea leaves here, and it's just straight up.
Like, this Dodgers team has dominated the entire season. I mean, they've got a 28.5 game lead on my Giants and like a 19.5 game lead on the Padres. Like, they have dominated the season. But you look at the roster and you go, how? I mean, it's still great, but it's not as great as it's not as great as it should be. Or it shouldn't be this great because it's because they've really got some issues up and down the roster. So I'm not, I am rooting against the Dodgers because I'm a Giants fan. I'm not gonna lie about that, but at the same time, like,
you're not framing this as like, you're not looking for something because you're a Giants fan. You're just looking at what's going on, and it's clearly not good. And I have no allegiance here, and I fully agree with you on this.
Like, this has the feeling of a 2021 Giants team that dominated the regular season out in the first round of the playoffs. Like, it does what this feels like.
That's brutal.
So, I mean, I mean, they, like I said, they've been hot all year. Like, if they ran the table in October, I would not be surprised. But, but this is, man, if I'm a Dodgers fan, this is like not what I want to see.
That's what I'm saying, and that's why I don't think it's fake. I think it's nerve-wracking, and it's not actionable. We just want to bring it up for the talking point of the Dodgers. I like Pepio's stuff, but he has no idea where it's going, so he's dangerous even as like a fill-in. Just be careful here, and hopefully Gonsolin gets back. Yeah. Let's talk about some August stud hitters, and it's a mixed bag here. Like the first guy is a superstar who's not available anywhere or anything like that, and then you got some other guys here who would be on some waiver wires. I'm really looking for your rest of the season, but then also your 2023 outlook on some of these guys. Let's start with Alex Bregman. 229 WRC plus is the best in August. His surge coincides perfectly with him telling our friend Eno, I'm healthy. I'm ready to go. I'm finally feeling good. He's obviously been playing all year, but was clearly not at 100% earlier in the year, and has finally clicked on that 100% issue with his, or on that 100% feeling with his wrist. And look what he's doing with the power. He hit, let's see, what is that? 9 homers in the first 3 months. He has 7 in the last 2, or excuse me, 11 in the last 2. He's just on fire right now. In August in particular, 1173 OPS with 7 homers for Bregman. So he's on a heater right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps this going into October, has a huge, second half plus October. What do you think that would do for Bregman's stock next year, given both third base's ugliness and his, rise back into prominence if he continues to stay hot with Bregman?
I mean, the hard part with Bregman is kind of twofold. One, his injury history. His injury history is like, you can't ignore it at this point. And he doesn't steal bases. Like, he's not the guy that he was early on in his career. That was
fantasy juice is a problem.
Yeah, and so that being said, like, I could see him being kind of like an early 3rd round pick, and actually being okay with that price. Like, that's because I mean, isn't he pretty much like Colorado version, or I guess this year's version of Arenado too, right? But with an injury history, and so Arenado went in the 1st round those years, and getting Bregman in the 3rd seems legit fine. And honestly, I could see him falling out of the 3rd in a lot of leagues because of the lack of stolen bases, pitching getting pushed up, closers getting pushed up. Like, if he's a 4th, 5th rounder, like, I think that's an instant smash.
I'm so in on that with Bregman if he falls there. I am curious where he goes though, because third base, everyone's already talking about it for next year. You're starting to see some Rob DiPietro put together a draft. You're starting to hear people talk more and more about 2023. And third base is not getting any better. And so Bregman having this big surge could really put himself in position to be one of the better third basemen. I loved him coming into this year, and it took a little while to get going. I did think he would bounce back, and he has. I was kind of hoping for an all-year bounce back, so like 30-plus homers. But the way he's hitting right now, I can't even put 30 out of the question. He needs 10 more, which is a ton. Obviously, he'd have to hit 10 in a month. But the way he's going, maybe so. He loves those Crawford boxes too. But I like Bregman, and I'm glad that he's back.
In the month of August, he's got a 10% barrel rate, 105.1 max exit velocity, a 92% zone contact percentage.
Love that.
I mean, like,
for Bregman.
Yeah, like, you have to love that.
And his floor is so high. And like you said, he doesn't steal. So there is a little bit of that lack of fantasy juice there, because he's also not a 40 home run hitter. He has done it, but he's not a consistent 40 home run hitter. So you're really looking at like upper 20s homers, a bunch of runs, and a good number of ribbies with a decent average. That fits, but you do have to build around it. You have to make sure that you're getting those steals elsewhere, because he is going to be a drain. He's just going to give you like pretty much a flat 0.
You also want a decent backup that could play third base too, because he's gonna miss time.
He could absolutely miss time again. We don't know if he can stay healthy for a couple of years here, but I just love the plate skills. And anytime somebody strikes out more or walks more than they strike out, which he's close to doing most years, and this year he is doing that 13% walk, 12% strikeout. I just love it. So I'm still in on Bregman big time, and I'll pay the updated price this year because I don't think it's going to become cost prohibitive.
Yep.
I hinted at Michael Harris being discussed earlier, in that Corbin Carroll realm of like, hey, this is the fresh new do everything in outfielder, The Braves, obviously, they've become known now as a prospect factory. When they call somebody up, whether it's a higher end prospect like Harris or a mid-tier prospect like Vaughn Grissom, you go get him right away. Harris has been amazing. He's already been paid, so he's locked, loaded, 13 homers, 15 steals on the season. He's played 82 games, so you can do the easy double up if you wanted to do some dangerous extrapolation. But just look at the skills. That's all you need to know. 176 WRC plus in August. Where's Michael Harris going to go next year if he finishes strong here and puts the bow on this beautiful rookie season?
Probably too high. People are going to see, and I think the contract kind of solidifies that, because people are going to be like, well, Braves, smart organization. Look, they locked up Albies, they locked up Acuna. Yeah. Like now they've locked up Michael Harris second. I have some real concerns about the plate skills. Like swinging outside the zone 43% of the time, he makes just below league average contact. He's got a 15% swinging strike rate. He's already striking out at 26% clip. The speed's legit. The defense is really good. He's now paid, so he's going to play every day. I do worry, though, that there's going to be like I think next year is not going to look as pretty as this year. And so, like, I'm probably not going to be as high on Michael Harris as a lot of other people. And I think people are going to look at speed and go, oh, this is a guy who's not a zero with power, that I can get speed. He's hitting like almost 300 this year. I don't think there's any way he can duplicate that over the course of a full season next year, not unless the plate skills improve. So I'm just a little bit concerned. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but I think considering where I think he is going to go, he's probably going to be a fade for me.
Okay. My pushback on that would be your boy, Ced, this year. I think he does pretty much exactly what Ced has done. 11 homers, 28 steals, 267, 49 ribbies, 68 runs with a month left. That's made him a top 35 player. Why can't Harris do exactly that?
Well, I think the easy answer to that is I called Ced Mullins, and I did not call Michael Harris a second.
Fair.
And therefore, he cannot have the kind of year that Ced did on a regular basis, because I wasn't in on him.
No, I think it can. I think that's the comp that you should look at, though, because Ced's power dropped. We knew it would. It's not a surprise. It doesn't make him a bust. Everyone was planning to not get 30 homers again. You were hoping to get 30 more steals, a solid average, and who knew with the runs and ribbies, because no one knew that Baltimore would actually be kind of decent this year, and we were taking him second, fourth round area for Mullins.
I mean, I think
he makes more contact.
Yeah, the plate skills are drastically better for Mullins. Now, that being said, in the month of August, the plate skills have improved somewhat. Right?
And they were good in the minors, too. If you look at Harris's plate skills, they're in line with Ced's major league ones. Harris's minor leagues ones are in line with Ced's major league ones.
Yeah, and so, he's got an 88% zone contact. Better, right? 85-ish% is around league average for contact. But he's still 15% swing and strike rate, still swing outside the zone over 40% of the time. I just think, the batting average especially is going to come back down to earth. And so
that's fair. 374 BABIP for Michael Harris, 298 average.
And he probably can run with a higher BABIP than normal, but he's got a 456 BABIP during this month. And so I think there are going to be people who are going to project Michael Harris to take another step.
That's fair, and I definitely wouldn't do that. Prospect growth isn't linear. You should probably bet on a little bit of a comeback based on these skills and some of the metrics that are over, well over average, that should regress, like a 374 BABIP, even though he's fast, even though, he can put good contact on it. 374 is almost certainly going to come down on the BABIP. And then 25% homer to fly ball is really going to come back to earth, I believe, with Michael Harris. He skipped AAA to get here, played 43 games in AA, so it's totally acceptable for him to have a peel back. It's really going to come down to that price, because I mentioned Ced Mullins, who's 35th this year. He doesn't have to emulate Ced Mullins to still be a solid, top 50, top 60, top 100 type player. So it really depends where he's going. I don't know if you have any access to that board that they drafted with Rob DiPietro and company. I do, and I'll look for it in a moment.
Yeah, if you can find it, I don't know where it is.
I forget where Harris went, but if he's going, anywhere after like pick 45. So out of the third, you think he goes in the top 3 rounds?
If he goes out, I think he does.
Okay. Well, that would be a little bit concerning for me then.
I mean, it'll be interesting. I'll be interested to see, because I think he's going to be one of these guys who's kind of polarizing. I think there are going to be people who are all on board the hype train, and then I think there are going to be people like me who are a little bit more tentative. If he's going in the 5th, 6th round area, I'm okay with that. Like, right, that's like where you got Randy Rosarena.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I think he could be Randy Rosarena-esque. Like, I don't think there's a problem with that at all. You know, I don't see him moving up the lineup. So, you know, I think there's, you know, an issue there.
He went in the 4th, by the way, 3rd pick in the 4th round. So that's pick 48.
I feel like that's still a little bit too high for me.
He went ahead of Mullins and Rosarena, but in that same round, and Buxton. Interesting quartet of outfielders there. Harris, Mullins, Rosarena, Buxton. Rank them.
Mullins, Rosarena, Harris, Buxton.
Harris over Buxton?
You have to be on the field to accumulate stats.
You absolutely do. That's a new rule. Manfred did that, and I think that's unfair. That's unfair.
It is. It's totally unfair.
Let Buxton play MLB The Show, and then however he does in there, we get those stats.
You could turn off injuries in MLB The Show, and he'd still get hurt.
He can still find a way. Dude, that's interesting. That's an interesting group of 4 there, and I love that they all went near in that same round of that degenerates. And I'm not calling them degenerates. They called themselves that.
I'll call them degenerates.
No, I mean, I would. I'm just saying in this instance.
I've already done a real draft, and that wasn't a real
This is real. No, it is.
Oh, is it real? Oh, yeah. It's real. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
they are. They are degenerates.
Yeah. They're putting it in a real thing, and it's going to be a full-on draft. So,
but they didn't draft the whole thing, right?
Not yet. I don't believe they have. I have 7 rounds here, and I got that as part of the reliever recon sent it on their Patreon because they were participating. So that's how we got access.
Still, reliever recon, one of the best. You know,
not
things.
One of the.
Yeah,
the best Patreon.
It's like $5 like a month. Like, yeah, just
it has inspired me. We've already talked about how we're going to work on our Patreon on the off season because we just didn't have the time to make it what it needs to be this year. They're the gold standard. They're the platinum standard. It's so good. Reliever recon. Go sign up for it. If you don't like drafting saves, but it's really difficult for you to chase them, and you notice I keep slacking on it and I keep falling behind, but I never draft saves, just follow that. $5 a month. That will solve your problems because they'll help you along the way, and it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. All right, Eloy Jimenez also has a 176 WRC plus like Michael Harris in August. Obviously, he does things a bit differently. I guess my biggest question with him, it's not, do you like him? Is he a good hitter? I think we're both big fans. You talk about health, man. He's 2 games away from his 3rd straight 55-game season. Obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously. I hope he plays more than 2 games the rest of the year, but he's gone 55 in the shortened season, which actually was good.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
out of 60,
season,
but then 55 out of 162 last year, and so far 53 out of 120 something this year. I don't know exactly how many games the White Sox have played. So that's what it comes down to. Are you going to pay? I have to say an overprice because he's going to go for more than somebody who plays 60 games a year.
Was he drafted in the 7th round?
Got him
7 rounds of that.
He was in the 7th. He was the 4th to final pick of the top 7 rounds, and it was the first outfielder for Ryan Venancio, who had Freddie Freeman, Devers, Gosman, Semien, Felix Bautista, Wander Franco, and then Eloy Jimenez.
And Ryan's a really smart and great podcaster too. So I really, really respect him, like him. And that being said, awful pick. No, I'm just, I don't know, man. That's a really tough one. Like it's
becoming such a problem with Eloy and the injuries that I don't know. Like I need a bigger discount than that. I think,
to be honest, I think he's one of those guys that I need to see free agency be over before I'm willing to take a gamble on him, because one of the big issues for him is the White Sox, the way they're structured to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jose Abreu is a free agent.
There's no universe where they bring him back, right?
Right? I would assume so.
That would be insane. They need to put Vaughn at first
and DH.
DH.
Yeah, especially with one more year of Yasmani Grandal, like you need to have him have the ability to DH or play first base and stuff because he clearly is having physical issues.
So maybe they like Vaughn still in left enough to at least spell Grandal with first base games instead of always having to catch.
Yeah, so I need to see, because I mean, as much as we say this, Tony La Russa is still the manager there, and so like, who knows what they're gonna do? So I think he is for people like me who draft really early. I will do October and November drafts this year. I will likely not touch Eloy at that price or even close to that price.
No Eloy until March.
And I know that, hey, once they report for spring training and we know like this is the team that they're probably heading in with, then I'll feel much more comfortable about, okay, Eloy's going to mostly DH. He has a better chance of staying healthy. Maybe I will touch that. But I mean, we're talking about a guy who's potentially like a 2.5 category player, right? He's going to give you homers. He's going to give you RBIs. The batting average can be there. It might not be there. So I think that's a half. Like, and do you want to spend that kind of draft capital on a guy who's only 2.5 categories?
Yeah, I'm hoping for a better discount there. I don't hate that price that Ryan paid in the 7th, but I'm hoping for a little bit of a better discount on Eloy. I love your take on waiting to see what they do because they've done some goofy stuff already. The White Sox have. You can't trust that they won't be like, well, Abreu's a legacy. We're going to bring him back. I think it'd be so stupid to re-sign him, but they might do it. Let's go out to St. Louis. The Devil Magic working overtime this year with guys like Brendan Donovan and Lars Nootbaar. Obviously, just a brilliant name. Everyone talks about how awesome it is. It truly is incredible. But he's having a nice little run here. You look at his full season: 241 plate appearances, 9 homers, 3 steals, and a 134 OPS plus. But just since August here, he's playing really well. 171 WRC plus. Hit that massive homer on Sunday Night Baseball. That was a hell of a game back and forth, by the way, that they were playing. He's playing, and I got to be honest. Listen. Hey, I think you've been on this the whole time. You've never been a huge Dylan Carlson fan. I have been. He's losing PT now because my man cannot hit to save his life. Carlson can't. Apparently, he's too good to trade for Soto. I know that's going to piss off some Cards fans.
Unreal.
I said that tongue in cheek. I think it's dog shit that was framed as though he was the problem. Like, because then people start hating on him for it. Like, he has no play in it. So they're just throwing his name in there. I still think Jordan Walker was the reason that they couldn't get it done. But Newt's been playing really well and leading off, Justin. Should Nootbaar be a major piece next year? Do you think he can carry forward through the rest of this year into next year as somebody that we're drafting?
Okay, so it may be happening too early. And I don't think he has this type of upside. But he's a leading candidate for this year's Cedric Mullins. He is leading off.
Ooh, yep.
On a really good team.
Lane Thomas. Oh, wait. It wasn't a really good team for Lane Thomas.
Yeah. He has got a bit of power.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some speed. This is super, super interesting. He has got really, really good plate skills if you shorten the time frame, right? So like you don't notice the good plate skills until you look from like second half on. In the second half, you got an 87% zone contact rate, only a 24% O swing, a 8% swinging strike rate with some power and some speed. This is super, super interesting. And I'm blanking on dude's name. And it may be Matt R, who's like right now yelling "Nude."
That's my boy Matt. Yeah.
But somebody on, I think it was the Roto Write-Up or maybe on Twitter, was all like, why aren't we taking Nootbaar in the first round next year? And I was all like, well, first of all, he was just like, he wrote Newt in, and I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And it's like, and then I finally got it. I was like,
oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Yes. And so I think it was on Twitter.
Yeah.
And so, like I did, I went and did a kind of deeper dive, and I'm like, oh my God, I think this is potentially the next Cedric Mullins, or at least he will be part of that article, depending on where he goes. Problem is, it's starting so early, and people are noticing that he's not going to go as late as Mullins probably did.
True.
So I don't know if he'll necessarily qualify, but super, super intriguing. I picked him up in a couple leagues this week, just because of that deep dive. I'm very interested. He went, you said, or I'm assuming he hasn't gone in that league. So
no, I mean, not. I don't know yet. Again, if they went further than 7, I don't have access to it. But Nootbaar's been playing his butt off, man.
Shout out again to our buddy and friend Eno Saris, who has been a big Nootbaar fan for a little while. I had a conversation with him prior to the start of the season. I guess he went and did some work at Driveline.
Okay.
And is
paying off. I mean, he's 24. He's killing it, man. And the on base is so nice too, because he doesn't have a huge batting average, and it's a pretty low BABIP too. So I wonder if he can improve the 278 BABIP, and then Nootbaar can maybe improve that 245 batting average. But he does get on base at a great clip, 357, thanks to a 15% walk rate, and that's why he's leading off. And simply put, my boy Dylan Carlson is just not making the grade, man. 317 OBP. That's just not going to do it. 9% walk rate's not bad with a 19% K rate, but he's just not impacting the ball. It's just not there. And
I think he's one of these guys that's hurt by the ball change. Like,
definitely. I don't know. Listen, I've been a fan, so I'm not trying to backpedal and get out of my fandom. I'm not even out on Carlson. But one of the pushbacks that I always heard from you and others that weren't as keen on him was like, it really was just the one big year at AA, 2019. And that really did drive Carlson's like ascent. He was a prospect before that. He didn't come out of completely nowhere, but that really took him to the next level of prospectdom. And we haven't really seen anything else to kind of back that up just yet, especially because he hasn't run that much at the major leagues. He had 26 homers, 20 steals in 2019.
And that's one of the big issues that I saw coming up with Carlson was that he kind of figured to be some of the parts, some of all parts kind of guy.
To play like 140 games to have him.
Yeah. And he hit up high in the lineup. And I mean, he's not done. Like, he's a guy I'm fine targeting late in the draft because I think he will play fairly regularly. And I think there is some upside still there. But I never thought he had a carrying tool in fantasy that made him that attractive that other people apparently, I think, saw.
Where's his devil magic? That's what I'm waiting. I was banking on the devil magic for Carlson.
But the devil magic has to come out of nowhere. And people saw Dylan Carlson coming. The devil magic doesn't work if you can already peer behind the curtain.
Dang it. Come on. Yeah. Well, Nootbaar's killing it. Pick him up. Obviously, he's been picked up in tons of leagues. If he's still out there in your shower formats, go get him. And I really think he could be somebody that we're drafting next year. You don't just put somebody at the top of your lineup on a strong team that's leading the division if you don't believe in the dude. He's 24 years old as well. He just turned 25. Actually, maybe. Wait, did he literally just turn 25 yesterday? It says September 8th.
Yeah,
I don't know why it lists him at 25 on roster resource.
He's going to turn 25 in about a week.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday, Nootbaar.
We know you listen.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about this guy a couple times during the year, and neither of us were interested in drafting him. You weren't even putting him on your list. That's Max Muncy. The elbow, disaster. And I mean, this is as clear cut as it gets to me. All the struggles early on, people were, not everyone, I don't want to straw man it, but like I had some discussions in my chat with people trying to straw man or not straw man, twist themselves into logistical pretzels of what the problem was for Muncy outside of just saying it was the elbow. It was the elbow. Like there is no other answer. Like, I don't know, slow start or BABIP. No, he couldn't hit the ball well because his elbow was jacked. 613 OPS, 161 average through July with 9 homers. Now, come August, maybe things are getting better with the health. He's at a 970 OPS, 282 average, 7 homers. He's almost doubled his home run total in 100 plate appearances here. Seems like the elbow's playing a lot better right now for Max Muncy. You getting back in right now? Obviously, you're not picking him up. He's not available anywhere. But are you getting back in terms of your interest in Max Muncy? If he continues to close strong, have a good playoff, are you ready to buy back next year on a guy that you loved but had to fade this year because of the elbow with Max Muncy? Tentative. That's leaning no, I'm hearing.
Yeah, I just still feel like I hate when guys don't get the surgery. Like, just get the surgery. Like, I feel like anything could happen.
Mhm.
And I don't know, man. Like, this is such a. I feel like this is such like just a balloon that's ready to pop at any moment. Like, it just like I don't want like I love Max Muncy.
You're saying?
Yeah, like things don't just magically get better. Like
Well,
that
not
just
magically, but I mean it's been 5 months.
but only 1 month of him being good.
No, I know. I'm saying 4 months of time has passed. You said magically. I don't think. I think that the duration of time isn't necessarily magic. Like it checks out to me that like okay, he could be healthier now.
But and like every once in a while, there are these players that like have UCL problems, and like they do the the PRP, they do the rest and recovery, and then they end up being fine, right? Like Tanaka never got the surgery, right? Like he just kept on rolling. I mean, he eventually just fell off, I think, because of age, but like it wasn't a health issue necessarily with Tanaka. But the vast majority of guys end up needing the surgery. And I know he's not a pitcher, but I think I'm going to rule on the side of caution and continue to fade. He's not like, I mean, unless like the price is similar to where the price ended up being, in some drafts this year where like he was going outside the top 200, like they're all, sure, I can take a dart throw, but ultimately I think it's just not worth the risk. Like he doesn't have the kind of upside necessarily that I'm going to go, well, I lost my league because I didn't get Max Muncy. Like
yeah, I mean, but he's got 35 homer upside. He's done that 3 times.
Other guys have 30 homer upside. Like I said, other guys have 30 homer upside.
But do they have 3 seasons of it on their ledger like Max Muncy?
No, I love Max Muncy. Like
you have broken up with him.
I had him ranked as like my number 4 first baseman prior to the injury.
Anymore.
Like
you don't believe he's healthy. I that's the thing. I think we just disagree on whether or not like this is an indicative of him feeling better. I feel like it has to be, right?
I mean, I feel like it has to be, but like there's not much in the numbers that have changed. Like I mean, you really look at like, and I'm talking about like obviously the underlying numbers, but like there really isn't like that much that she's making a little bit more zone contact. And he has gotten a little bit more aggressive.
He's got like 3 miles of exit velo, average exit velo. That's pretty good. 7 points of hard hit rate. He's striking the ball exponentially.
Yeah,
better.
you're right. Okay, yeah, you are. You're right.
So again, that seems to me to scream Muncy's elbows feeling better. I don't know where it's going to go from here. I'm going to continue to monitor. I don't have a draft right now that I have to make that decision. So if it fades back again in September or October, I go back to moving off. Well, but if he has a strong September and a quality playoff where he doesn't look like the elbow's killing Max Muncy, I think I'm back in because I don't think he's going to jump all the way back into like the 4th, 5th round, which is where he was going at his peak.
Oh, I don't think he's going to jump back there. Like the question is, because I think he is, I'm double checking right now. Okay, so he's going to be 2nd and 3rd base eligible, right?
Would you pay an 8th round pick?
I don't think I would.
Before you answer that, Tanaka didn't like fade out and fizzle out. He pitched the COVID year and then went back to Japan. He actually pitched 2 brilliant years this year and last. I just want Tanaka folks out there. I didn't want that to go unmentioned because I love Tanaka. But yeah, Muncy, would you pay an 8th rounder?
I don't think I would. Okay. I mean,
I don't know if that's where he's going to go.
Let's do Would You Rather.
Yeah, let's do that.
Would you rather Eugenio Suarez or Max Muncy?
Muncy.
See, I'm going to go Suarez.
Team.
Matt Chapman.
I'm
going to go Chapman. DJ LeMahieu.
Ooh, that's interesting. I can do the cop-out team build, but let's just go straight up and say we don't have a specific need. I think I'm going to go Muncy. I think you're going to go LeMahieu.
I'm going to go LeMahieu. Cabrian Hayes.
Cabrizi. I don't know if the power's coming next year yet either. Again, if I'm getting a quality Muncy in September and October, so this is continuing, I'm going to go Muncy.
Okay. Josh Rojas.
Oh, I like Rojas. Alex, plug your ears, buddy. I'm going to go Muncy.
Yeah, I still think I go all those guys. I think Rojas and Hayes are in argument. I think it really does come down to team context. So
yeah. You don't think LeMahieu does too, though? Like if you need power versus
I think LeMahieu does as well. But like guys like obviously we're taking Bobby Wood Jr., right?
Yeah. That's the thing too. The bad third base, which we talked about with Bregman, that helps Muncy here, right?
It absolutely does. And second base isn't that great either.
Exactly. Like, yeah, the two positions that he has.
So those are gonna be I think one of the reasons why he gets pushed back up. I think the thing is, like, if I don't get one of the top, like, 7 or 8 guys at third base, I'm probably punting. Because there are some really interesting guys that are going to go late.
Sure.
But, like, I think it's going to be really hard for me. And, if he does it for another month, maybe I come around. Like, I definitely want to see... I definitely want to see how he finishes out the year. He finishes out the year healthy, finishes the playoff healthy. I could definitely talk myself back in because, like I said, I love Max Muncy.
We'll put that to the test next year.
Yeah,
when you're not drafting him. Mm-hmm. Emmanuel Rivera was traded for Luke Weaver in a very tiny trade that no one really gave too many thoughts to. Not surprising, but he has been quite nice with the D-backs. Huge spike in production. He has a 163 WRC plus with them, 5 homers in 19 games after hitting 6 in 63 games with Kansas City. His plate skills are markedly better. He has a 7-point jump in walk rate from 5 to 12%. The strikeouts are only down a little bit from 22 to 20, but even if he was still at 22% with the 12% walk rate, that would be huge. He's clubbing the ball, 25% homer to fly ball is driving that the home run total there for Emmanuel Rivera. 17% barrel. Is there anything here with Emmanuel Rivera? Is this just a hot run that could mislead some deeper league folks next year? What do you think of Emmanuel Rivera? He'll be 27 next year with the Diamondbacks having this little second half power surge.
Kind of an interesting guy. Like I don't know how much power he really has in the bat, and he's going from a bad park did in to a bad park did in, so I guess it's not like
a better one, right? Like it is bad to bad, but I think it's a decent bit better.
I think it's probably about the same. Maybe a little bit better, but it's a worse division to hit in terms of like the teams you're going to be going up against. So,
but also has Coors.
Also has Coors. It's true, and yeah.
Hey, I'm getting home run park factors real quick. So we got KC sitting at 26th over the last 3 years for right-handers at 82. And then we got the D-backs 78. You're right. Worse, actually.
Yeah.
So the overall park factor.
The humidor hurts,
It kills it. I still would have thought homers would have been a little bit better, but no. In fact, even overall park factor, because of some of the extra base hits that Kaufman allows, KC is actually better. So it's not the park. It's just Rivera's on a heater, and it's been great. Is it anything to write home about, though?
The plate skills are. Like, we're talking about a guy with, above average zone contact and reach rates that are good, a swing strike rate that, should keep him in a low 20s strikeout rate. Like, I think these are legit plate skills. I think he could be like a poor man's version of like Anthony Rendon. So like a low 20s homer with a decent batting average type of thing. I think the Diamondbacks are going to be better here.
Yes. I think they actually have a sneaky core that could make them a Baltimore type team next year where they're in the mix. By the way, 2 of the 5 homers with the Diamondbacks did come in Colorado. So he did leverage that new division a little bit off rip there. He had 1 against Pittsburgh. 2 in Colorado, 1 at home against Colorado, and then 1 at the White Sox, a park that he's more familiar with, having been with KC. But yeah, I think there's some deep league appeal here. Is Rivera somebody you would take a look at in your DCs, your drafting holds, your draft champions leagues next year? Okay.
Yeah, or even like as like a late CI pick, in a 15-team league type thing. Like I think he is nothing special. Like I do not see a breakout or anything coming, but he's been hitting second a ton since coming over.
What's his positional? Does he have any eligibility besides third?
Just third. He can play first, but he's just third.
Okay.
But like especially if you play like on base percentage leagues, points leagues, right? Like doesn't hurt you in strikeouts, gets points and walks. Like he is kind of a format play.
Yeah, Emmanuel Rivera will have pockets of value.
Yeah. I mean, in many ways, like Eduardo Escobar was when he was in Arizona, where like I don't think he's gonna have like that huge power year. But like he's gonna play every day. He's gonna kind of accumulate. Yeah. He's in a good spot in that lineup that I think is just gonna get better and better. So yeah, I like Rivera.
That's an interesting name, by the way, too. Yeah, because he doesn't have the profile of Eduardo Escobar, but Emmanuel Rivera could be like a poor man's cheaper version of that. You just draft him. You try to get your 22 homers with a 265 and
20 homers, 270. With
runs and ribbies that could be better because Arizona could be better. I agree with you on that. By
360 OBP, something like that. Like, and I think it's fine. Like, that
would definitely work.
Yeah.
All right, last one. This one I'm just looking forward on Adley Rutschman. He has a 161 WRC plus in August. He's making a run, and I tell you what, it could come down to the very end here. He's making a run at this Rookie of the Year. I know J-Rod obviously having a brilliant season, leader in the clubhouse right now, but hard charging Adley Rutschman actually has the WAR advantage right now because he catches and he does it very well. What I'm asking you though is next year, is he the top 3 catcher? Is he the C1? Where are you taking Rutschman next year?
Oh man. Well, Roberto, Will Smith.
I think those are the 2 guaranteed ahead of him, man. I think
he's definitely top C3, 5.
I think you can start taking him at C. I'm not saying he's my 100% C3. I think once you get to C3 is when you can start to.
Yeah, I agree.
Go for Adley, and if you so choose.
Yeah, he's going to be on a lot of my teams, I think. I really like him a lot.
I love him too.
He's really good.
I rarely want to take catching prospects because they're such a disaster, but he's hit the ground running. He is generational. I'm going to make the same mistake I did with Matt Wieters. I don't care. Give me all of it.
He's already better than Wieters. Like it's just, I mean, things obvious. I think his hit tool is just too good to fall apart. Like I just maybe he doesn't turn into a superstar, but
don't you say that. He's gonna.
I feel like this feels like Buster Posey.
Exactly. It's the Wieters comps are easy. Switch hitter, went to coming out of college, top pick, et cetera, et cetera. But it feels more like Posey, Mauer, just like predetermined superstar. Hopefully he doesn't deal with the health of Mauer, by the way, but that kind of eliteness.
And so for those of you who don't know, like I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area before the Nationals moved to Washington.
That's right.
And so like I grew up with the Orioles being the quote unquote hometown team. And so like I have a real soft spot for the Orioles, like just in general, aside from my Cedric Mullins love. Man, I'm getting excited about that team. That's going to be a really, really fun team here.
It really is, man. I like, even if they fall short this year, kind of the way the Mariners did last year, it's going to be that same story where like you can see exactly how they can build on it. And we see the Mariners being a lot more firm this year. And what I mean by firm is like last year they were doing well, but we knew the 1-run record and there was a little bit of sketchiness to it in terms of they were kind of running hot. That's the Orioles this year. But next year they're going to be a year older with these players. They're going to add more players.
They have like nothing on the payroll.
It's coming, folks. Like they're gonna be in this mix now for a while. And so with Adley again, I would take Real Muto and Smith ahead of him. I'm not even gonna say 100% for sure. I might take him over.
I'm taking Real Muto.
Real Muto's the only one I'm 1,000,000,000% taking over Adley right now. Everything else is up in the air. Like I could definitely take him as the C2. So that's where I'm at with Rob.
Catchers are going to be a lot better. I mean, at least you're still ones. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we were talking about how, Kirk, Varsho, Smith, Adley, Melendez, this young wave is coming. Stevenson was part of that. Ruiz was part of that. They both, Stevenson had injuries. Ruiz hasn't quite panned out. But we saw this wave. It's finally starting to pay off. Throw Sean Murphy in that too.
Mm-hmm.
Catcher could actually be kind of hot next year, especially for one catcher leagues, but even for two catcher leagues.
One catcher league, do not take a catcher until the end. I mean,
we just talked up Adley. We might have gotten you excited for him, but in a one catcher league, I'm not going to take him.
There's going to be too many. They're going to be enough.
I'll take Jonah Heim 10th.
I got Wilson Contreras as like the 9th or 10th catcher off the board, and I was like, oh, okay, he's going to be in a better situation no matter where he ends up next year. Like it's
exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
no, I'm with you. In one catcher, I'll take his brother, William Contreras. In one catcher leagues, don't go hard, but in two catcher leagues, I'm going to go for the superstar one and then have like a solid second. Like I'm going to go Adley, Cal Raleigh type of deal, something like that. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, go out and get those call-ups, save that money, get that money ready for Corbin Carroll this weekend. Maybe get some Garrett Mitchell if you don't.
He went for 340 something to Derek Van Riper and
you just said he made a huge run right into first recently.
Yeah,
and he got Carroll.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue to try to track him down, and I think I can. But Derek has just been on fire, and benefited from a really nice trade with Jeff Zimmerman. So this is gonna be tough to catch him. But the bummer is I had Corbin Carroll on my team, and
you had to move on.
I had to move on because injuries hit me, and I didn't think he'd get the call until September. I mean, it is pretty much September now. But
wait, when did you cut him? How long ago?
I think back in July.
Okay, at least it wasn't like a week ago, and then he got
no.
That would have been tough.
But the hard part is in Tout has this weird rule, which I love Tout. Don't get me wrong. I hate this rule. Where if you pick up a guy, you have to start him.
Yes.
And so I picked him up and had to take a 0 that week.
I got to be honest. I kind of like that rule.
I hate that rule.
Why do you hate it? It's like there should be a little punishment for stashing, right?
Why should there be a punishment? The punishment is you're wasting a bench spot.
Well, because the waiver wire is already tapped. You're not wasting a bench spot because there's nothing else to get. So if you could just get them freely with no penalty, I think it's a good counter to the fact that the waiver wire is already pretty barren, and you have to think twice if you want to do that stash. Do you want to take 1 week of zeros? I actually like it in the context of Tout because of unlimited IL. If there wasn't unlimited IL, I would support your side more.
Yeah, I guess that.
I think it's a decent counter to the fact that the pool is going to be empty most of the time.
My only pushback is that it hurts me in this moment, and
fair.
I don't like when things hurt me.
That's a good point. That you disagree with when things aren't good for you.
Yeah,
I understand that. I feel the same way. Like when things are for me or against me, I'm like, hey, that sucked. I didn't like that.
Which isn't as important to me, but I get where you're coming from.
Understandable. Are we going to catch Striker?
I'm not.
I don't know. I meant we as like the collective, the 14 of us that are trying to chase him here with Miami Mac, Ray Diaz, the closest right now at 13 points back. You got Tanner Bell and Jeff Zimmerman there at 91 points, 89.5 for Jason Gill. I have 89. I spike up as high as 92, down to 89, up to 90. Back to 89, up to 9. I'm just like bouncing back and forth depending on where my pitchers are. I just hope that when the wheel stops, I'm in second place because I can get as high as second place, but then somebody else has 4 pitchers pitch the next day, and then I lose those K points. I just need to end on the high note, and hopefully I get a bunch of 2-start weeks that final week there. But yeah, I don't know if we're gonna catch Striker.
Well, even more importantly, in the other main event he's in with me, he's 3rd overall.
Yes, he's having a season, man.
With Bob Cramatola, who's a really, really nice guy that I got to meet in Vegas. In first place,
Steve
right?
Weimer has 5th and 6th, by the way.
And Jeff Erickson's in 9th.
Yes, so Jeff and Scott in the top 10 making their pod even better than usual.
Yeah, so good luck to all of them. I really hope that one of them can take it down. I'd love to see, like, I love Bob, I love Steve, but like I'd really love to see Scott or Jeff take it down, just because I think often in just like the high stakes world in general, but just in general, when you hear, the regular eggs on Twitter talk about, well, these fantasy analysts, these quote unquote experts aren't really that good of players. And to see someone like one of these guys, RotoWire is a bunch of studs to begin with.
Of course.
PlayLink, Todd Zola, both taking down TGFBI overall.
James Anderson's a stud.
James Anderson's a stud. Yeah, it's just a fantastic organization. But I would love to see Scott. Scott and I know each other really well outside, or well enough outside of. I don't know if I've ever told this. Scott's wife and my wife went to school together.
Which is amazing. Yeah, that's like so cool that you guys had that link.
So
outside of things.
I'd love to see one of them take it down for sure.
Our boy Ian Kahn there is in 16th. Robert Mershak, that's his partner.
Another just stud player, and just Ian and I are really good friends outside of the fantasy stuff, and just a genuinely great dude. And Robert's a really, really good player and really good dude as well. So, I'd love to see one of these interesting guys take it down. And obviously it's always great to see your friends do well. I hate them. Mostly because I'm not doing well. But hopefully Tout DFS or the championships start tonight. And hopefully I will be taking that down.
You got a big shot. You have more entries than anybody. You got a quarter of all the entries.
Yeah, Jeff Erickson is one of the 2 people who has 2 entries. Matt Trussell from Rasball, the other guy, has got 2 entries. But other than that, there's 16 total entries. I have 4 of them. That's incredible. I'm hoping I don't choke it away. So that starts tonight. Wish me luck.
Good luck to you. We were talking some of the pitchers. It's a big pitching night. I hope your guys hit, and I hope you bring it down. We'll be back later in the week. Until then, Justin, take care.
Take it easy.